Hi, I'm Heather Hutchinson, and with me today is Fire Prevention Officer Jim Orser. This week coming up, October 8th to the 13th, is Fire Prevention Week here in Nelson. And so I have with me Jim Orser today to talk a little bit about the programs the fire department is doing in the schools. Well, Jim, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming today.
It's good to be here.
Thank you. Now, as I understand it, you're going to be showing a couple of films. Do you want to tell us a little bit about them?
Well, the first film that we'll see is put on by the McDonald's program, and they are sponsoring Fire Prevention Week in British Columbia this year. And this film goes into several situations as to smoke and fire, and smoke detectors, fire extinguishers. It's about 40 minutes long, and it's a very good film, and I advise everybody to have a look at this film. And I'd also like to advise the parents that they accompany anybody who's under 10 years of age. Okay?
And as I understand it, you've got two films. You've got the longer film and a shorter one that we're going to see?
The second film is a cartoon-type film for the younger generation.
Okay.
And that's good for everybody to see. It's good for a laugh.
Oh, okay, great. And as I understand it, they're going to be shown in the schools via Channel 10.
Right. They'll be open all during Fire Prevention Week, Monday through Friday, and the schools can look at them at their leisure, and they can also watch them at home if they wish.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you. I just want to ask a couple of questions before we get into watching these films. One of the programs that happens before Fire Prevention Week is that the fire department goes into the schools, does fire drills, and runs a little competition.
Okay, that's our exit drill competition, which we just completed last Monday and Tuesday. And we do all of the schools in the school district, which there is 18. And it takes 2 days, and it takes 4 people to go out and do this. And this is put on so that we can find out how fast everybody can get out of their building, out of their school. And there's 3 different parts to the competition depending on how many students and how big a school you really have. So the school that gets out in the shortest amount of time usually is the winner.
Okay, and you've done this now to this point?
This has been done. The winners haven't been tabulated up yet, but that's coming.
Okay, great. Also, as I understand it, there's another little contest to do with a fire chief.
Right, the fire chief for a day. This program is made up so that the children from grade 3 through to grade 6 all write out a little ticket, and there's a draw made. And the winner comes from whichever school in whichever part of the district is available. And what happens there is we take that child, in which we have 5 out of the whole district, and they go through what we call a smoke chamber. And what we do is we fill our tanker bay up at the fire hall with synthetic smoke. And we put turnout gear and an air pack on the child. And a fireman walking beside them, they go in one door and out the other. So they actually get to see what a fireman sees in a fire.
Which isn't very much, as I understand.
Not very much, no.
Yeah, not very much at all. And so it's a kind of a very exciting day for whatever child becomes fire chief. Not only does he go through this fire chamber, but he gets to know a little bit more about what a fireman actually does.
That's right.
And he gets
to go to McDonald's and Trail.
Wow. That's great. There's a couple of things, like I can see the slant is aimed at the children this way, but there's a few things that we all should put on our need-to-do list in our own homes to see that our homes are fire ready or...
Right. We can check our smoke detectors and put it on, like you say, our need-to-do list, and check the batteries in our smoke alarms. Once a year, they should be checked. And to be sure that we check them, we put them on that list. The other is to make sure that we have a fire extinguisher. And should we have our bedrooms on the second floor, how would we get out of that place if there was a fire in the lower floor. Or pre-planning is exactly what that is called.
Uh-huh.
And pre-planning is almost as good as early warning.
Yes, I can see. And you made one good point earlier about fire extinguishers. They have to be checked every year.
They should be checked by a professional once a year. What happens is you have fire extinguishers that get into condensation and the powder inside starts to pack. So when you go to use it, you don't realize that it's packed, but the fire extinguisher will not work. So if it was checked by a professional, he would have it all set up so you know that it's going to work.
And just out of curiosity, Jim, how do most fires start in a home, like in Nelson, for example?
Most fires, through statistics throughout the country, we have smoking is probably one of the most popular causes. And children playing with matches is probably running a very, very close second to cigarette smoking.
Is that right?
Yes.
And it's not electricity or chimney fires or things like that, or?
Chimney fires and electricity do take their toll, but like I say, the highest is cigarette smoking and children playing with matches.
All right, you've all heard that out there. So children, don't play with matches, and adults, extinguish your cigarettes and don't fall asleep in bed with one. We're going to see the film quite shortly, but I just have one quick curiosity question here. Is fire engines used to be red. Now they're not that color anymore. Why aren't they?
Fire engines are what we call a lime yellow now, strictly due to visibility. At night you cannot see a red vehicle. But you can sure see these ones now.
Yeah, that's right, and you can sure hear them now too, can't you?
This is true.
Yeah.
Yes, the warning systems have changed.
All right. Plan to get out alive. Jim, where was this filmed?
This was filmed mostly in New York City with the New York City Fire Department. And the doctor that does the narration on there takes you right through the whole film. He shows you point by point what he wants to bring out in the film and what is for fire safety during that.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Jim.
Thank you.
At first I thought I was dreaming.
Everybody that ran by me died.
I heard my husband, screaming, yelling.
They were screaming and running, throwing their arms up in the air.
My mind just went blank.
I stood for like a few seconds and then I fell on the floor. You could see that smoke rolling. I mean, like I said, it was like a tidal wave.
See, you can't feel its heat, it's crackling.
It was just clouds of gray, black, thick.
As fast as I can crawl, the heat was there. It was a matter of seconds and my kids would have been dead.
The feelings were like, this can't be real. This isn't happening to us.
The voices you just heard are voices of people who never dreamed they would ever be in a fire. They survived because they planned to get out alive. Some simply were lucky, just like the people in this apartment. The flames which swept through the building that was here left these 50 homeless. It also left 4 dead, including a 14-month-old girl. Some people survived because they knew what to do when the fire struck. One family used the door to save their lives. Another man went back into the smoke. He died. 15 of the residents were saved because they had smoke detectors. But luck is just not enough, because this year, 60,000 Americans will be severely burned in fires, and 6,000 of you will die in fires. That's because you were never brought up to understand what a real fire is really like. Now, what you're about to see might frighten you, but remember this. Fear and respect of fires could save your life. It's already saved hundreds of lives, and that's why McDonald's, First Alert, and WCBS TV are bringing you this. Plan to get out alive.
Come on, guys.
So what can you expect if you're in a fire? There are 4 basic facts you must learn if you are to survive a fire. First, a fire is black. You won't be able to see in a fire. Second, the smoke and the gas will kill you, not the flames. Third, the heat is so intense it defies description. The heat alone will kill you. And fourth, time. You have no time in a fire. You must get out. Let's take fact number 1. If you've never been in a fire before, this will come as a complete shock to you. If you think this is what a real fire is, you're dead wrong. It's what the movies and television have led you to believe a fire is like. They have to do it with enough smoke and fire so you can see the action and the drama. But a real fire is this: the same scene. Screaming, noise, burning, panic, the blackness. In a real fire, you are blind. To your horror, you will learn that in a real fire, you cannot see. Fire is black. It is not light.
Black wasn't even a color black. I couldn't see my hands in front of me.
You see nothing. You just feel heat and cracking.
It's extremely dark. It's hot. It's scary.
Sooner or later, according to statistics, each one of us will experience the terror of a serious fire. What's it feel like? First, forget about what you think a fire is like. Let us take you into a fire. It's frightening. To help you survive if it happens to you, we went to the New York City Fire Department Training Center, where firemen are taught to survive. This is part of what a fire is really like.
Can you see me? To the left. I'm totally disoriented now, and I've only come in, what? Okay, now I want to stand here for a minute to see, oops, I'm hitting something. Okay, I can see what you mean. I have to feel around. Let me just turn toward the camera, where my cameraman, Nick Fisher, is. He's somewhere in front of me. Nick, I don't know whether you can see me. I can see a light over a camera, and you're about, what, a foot away from me. You're less than a foot. You're right on top of me, and I can't, there, okay, I see the front of the camera now. Now I'm going to turn back toward the fire. I feel the heat is coming. Now, I just walked into the wall here. Good God. But I'm totally, it feels good to see the fire. It's crazy as it seems because it gives me a point of reference. That other room frightened the hell out of me because I had no way of telling. It was like being an astronaut in space. Yeah, I didn't know if I was upside down. I'd never find a door in this. Okay, I can feel the wall. I just can't imagine how terrible it would be to be inside a room like that without anyone with me, with total disorientation, not being able to see or feel anything. It's total panic. You know, before this I always thought that fire meant light. It's not. It's black. It's a panicky black, and it's hard to describe. And only somebody who's been in the fire could tell you what it feels like.
So the first fact you must know about a fire to survive is that it's dark. It's not light. Expect not to see. It will be pitch black. The second thing you must learn is the danger of smoke and gas. This car, with its motor running, is pumping out carbon monoxide into an enclosed garage. Carbon monoxide is invisible and it's odorless. It will put you into a deep, deep sleep and kill you. But I'm wearing a firefighter's air mask. But this is the same carbon monoxide that's mixed in the smoke that you breathe in fires. And in a fire, you'll never stand a chance. You're sound asleep. It's the middle of the night, and a fire breaks out in your home. This acrid, noxious cloud of burning plastics and rubber comes pouring into your bedroom. Do you think you'd wake up? Do you think you'd smell the smoke and take action?
Well, I guess I'd call the fire department.
I would wake up, I would wake my family, and I would pray that the elevators were working and get the hell out.
I have a terrible nose, but that I would smell.
But the frightening fact is, the smell of the smoke would not wake you up. If anything, it would put you into a deeper sleep. Most victims, awake or asleep in a fire, will die from the smoke and gas inhalation. They will not die from the flames. Those who survived know the tragic effects of smoke and gas.
The smoke poured in, then it was like a tidal wave. It was just like a big wave.
My two sons were overcome by the fumes. They died in their sleep.
90% of the people we run into look like they're asleep, except their faces are dirty from the soot, because they've died from the gases.
If you ran out into this smoke-filled hallway, not only would you not be able to see, but you couldn't breathe. It's like holding your head underwater, like drowning. Now you add to the smoke the invisible gas, carbon monoxide. It's in every fire. It's odorless. It numbs your brain. It puts you into a deep sleep, just as an anesthetic would.
At first I thought I was dreaming. I know that I couldn't move my arms and my legs. And it was terrifying at first. It was, because I've never been in a situation like that before. I've never been in a situation where I physically couldn't move when I wanted to, and it was downright scary.
He would have been a victim, but his father pulled him out of the fire. The lesson here is simple. In most cases, it's not the flames that will kill you, it's the smoke and the gas. Because when you're asleep, you can't smell the smoke. You lose your sense of smell, and that's why the noise of a smoke detector is your first line of defense.
The third fact you must learn to deal with is the heat. Your body simply stops functioning. You die within seconds from the heat alone. It is indescribable.
It hits you like being hit by a Mack truck. It's so hot that there's no way to explain it.
Watch what happens in a specially controlled fire. The couch is burning. At 150 degrees, your body will stop working. Your lungs will literally vaporize. You'll fall unconscious. In this living room, the fire has been underway for slightly over a minute, and the temperature in that smoke layer is an unbelievable 700 degrees. Instant death if you stuck your head into that smoke unprotected. The heat in a fire is mind-boggling.
As fast as I can crawl, the heat was there, and the bottom of my shoes were melted.
The heat was so intense that it cracked the porcelain utilities in the upstairs bathroom.
If you breathe air that's 150 degrees, it would scorch your lungs and kill you instantly. Overhead in the darkness, it's well over 600 degrees. It's hot enough up there to melt wiring and plumbing. Let us show you how hot a fire can really get.
Watch the heat in this room build to explosive heights. What you see happening here is called a flashover. The intense heat reaches a point where almost everything in the room is burning. The temperature is now hundreds of degrees, and the smoke itself is ready to ignite, blowing out the entire structure. There's no chance at all of survival in this heat. So fact number 3 is the heat. It is mind-boggling. The heat alone kills in seconds. One breath of superheated air can destroy your lungs.
Fact number 4, time. Most people think they have time in a fire, but in a fire, there is no time.
The front windows blew out, and it swept that wall of flames right up that hall. It was a matter of seconds, and my kids would have been dead.
I smelled smoke. We went back to get the dog and a few valuables, and by the time we went back, it was too late. We couldn't get out.
Here's what we mean by time. A wastebasket fire begins. It's undetected. Within a minute, the sofa is on fire, and the smoke is beginning to fill the room. But it hasn't set off the smoke detector in the next room. Upstairs, there's no warning yet. Downstairs, the heat is intense enough to knock you unconscious if you try to enter. Now, it's 2 minutes into the fire. The smoke detector goes off. This is your first warning there's a fire. The smoke pours upstairs. Downstairs, it's now 3 minutes. The room is fully involved. The thick, choking smoke is lowered. Nobody would survive in this room. Now, it's 4 minutes into the fire. The upstairs and downstairs hallways are impassable. If you didn't have an escape plan, you're trapped. It's been only 2 minutes since the smoke detector sounded the alarm. In all, it took 5 minutes after the fire started for the gas, smoke, and heat inside the house to kill everyone.
In 2 to 5 minutes, forget it. It's all over.
So it turns out that time may be your biggest enemy in a fire. You may have less than a minute or 2 to get your family out safely.
So there you have it. Basic facts which most Americans don't know. 1, a fire is black. It is not light. You will not be able to see in a fire. Expect that. 2, the smoke and the gas in a fire will kill you, not the flames. 3,
The heat is so intense your body simply shuts down. You will die within seconds. And 4, time. You have no time in a fire. You must get out. If you know these 4 basic facts, you can plan to get out alive. Let's see how you respond to these common fire situations. How would you respond to this common accident in the kitchen, a grease fire? Would you reach for a lid cover if it were handy and place it over the flames? Or would you pour baking soda on the flames? Would you use a fire extinguisher? Or would you use water?
I would use baking soda. I would put a lid on it.
The baking soda, I think, works if you don't have a fire extinguisher.
The correct way to deal with a grease fire, use a lid cover, baking soda, or fire extinguisher. How well do they work? Watch. The lid cover removes the supply of oxygen that the fire needs, and the flames die down quickly. Know where the baking soda is handy, and pour it over the flames. You may expect a slight flare-up, but keep pouring, and the fire will die. A fire extinguisher will quickly douse the flames, and the newer fire extinguishers cause very little mess. The one thing you don't want to do is to throw water on a grease fire. Watch what happens if I do. This kitchen fire is now getting out of control. In your home, how long do you think it would take for this same fire to get out of control? Do you think it would take 30 seconds? Do you think it would take a minute? Do you think it would take 5 minutes? Or do you think it would take 10 minutes? What do you think? Most people think they have at least 5 minutes or more, but that's wrong. The correct answer, you may have no more than 30 seconds before the fire gets out of control. The advice is get out of the kitchen, alert the family, leave the building, call a fire department from outside the building. Don't go back into the house or apartment. Wait for the firefighters to arrive and take over. In the wrong hands, a match or cigarette lighter can kill. For parents, consider this interesting question. Which do you think would be more dangerous in the hands of a child? A loaded .38 or a cigarette lighter? Think about it for a moment. It's a question that Fire Marshal Charlie Wagner must answer every night when he comes home from work. He locks his gun and his lighter in a drawer.
This is more dangerous than a loaded .38 revolver placed on a kitchen table in front of a child. This is more dangerous because this can kill dozens of people.
Children are intrigued by fire, blowing out matches or candles. Ask your youngster where the matches are kept and you may be in for a surprise.
They're in the kitchen on the top drawer. She keeps them on a counter in a cookie jar. They're on the counter next to the refrigerator in the kitchen.
Here's a question. Children killed from playing with matches and lighters are usually how old? 3 years, 6 years, or 9 years? The answer shocks many. It's toddlers, usually around the age of 3, killed while playing with lighters and matches. Children don't mean to kill with matches, nor do careless smokers mean to kill with cigarettes, yet both do. Question. True or false? Most fires caused by careless smoking are in the bedroom.
I think it's true because people probably fall asleep in bed, the cigarette hits the mattress, it smolders and starts a fire.
True, people get too relaxed and they forget about the fact that they're smoking.
I think a lot of people that smoke in bed. They'd have their last cigarette before they go to sleep at night and fall asleep with the cigarette still burning, and so that starts a fire.
The correct answer is false. Most careless smoking fires occur in any room of the house, the living room, the television room, the playroom, any room you smoke in. You're at a party. The folks are smoking and drinking, having a good time. And unnoticed to anyone, someone has dropped a cigarette butt on the couch. How long do you think that cigarette butt would continue to smolder before bursting into flame? Do you think it would be 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour? Or maybe you think it would smolder for 3 hours before breaking into flame. The answer is that cigarette butt could smolder for well on to 3 or 4 hours before bursting into flames, well after you've gone to bed. Now, let's see how well you can plan to get out alive if a fire breaks out in your home. The house is on fire. There's smoke and there's flame. How much time do you think you have to wake up the family, to call a fire department, to look for the valuables, look for the pet? How much time do you have to fight the fire? How much time do you think you have? How much time do you have before this fire could kill you? 1 minute? 5 minutes? Do you have 10 minutes? Or 15 minutes?
I would say about 10 minutes.
I don't know, 10 minutes?
About 10, 15 minutes, I guess.
The correct answer is 1 minute before you are trapped. You don't have time. Time is your enemy. You measure it in seconds and minutes. If you didn't get out of that building in the first 2 minutes, you were dead. But let's begin at the beginning. The smoke detector goes off. It's the middle of the night. How would you react? And answer truthfully. What is the first thing you think you'd do? Would you call a fire department? Would you rush off to see what set off the alarm? Would you wake everybody up? Or would you run for your valuables? Would you start getting dressed?
I would start getting dressed.
I'd call the fire department first.
And I'd run for the valuables.
Most people would do the wrong thing. The correct answer is, first wake everybody up and then get out of the house. It's important to remember time is against you. First, make sure everyone knows there's a fire, then get out. Make your calls from outside the burning building. You've taken the first step. You've awakened everyone. But as you try to get out, you run into dense smoke. What would you do? Would you take a deep breath and make a run for it? Would you crawl toward safety? Or would you go back into your room and close the door?
Back in the room.
I tried to get out of the stairway.
The correct answer is you would go back into your room and close the door.
If you allow it to remain open, the fire and smoke will follow you. It will spread through the house rapidly, killing everyone. The fire will spread with enormous speed. So remember, you must keep the door closed. That way you keep the fire and the smoke away from you.
If the firefighters don't get to you in minutes or there's no help, jumping from a one-story dwelling would save your life. The fire in your house is now out of control, and you must evacuate as quickly as possible. True or false? The best way to make sure that everyone gets out safely is get out together. Is that true, or do you think that's false?
Go out together, everyone together, okay?
I think it's false. Because if you waited to get a whole group out, you'd probably all get stuck.
Everybody should get out at the same time.
The correct answer is false.
Sometimes you can get out together, but in most cases you have to leave individually, and that means you must have an escape plan. You must know where the exits are. You must know who is to help the youngest and the oldest. You must have a predetermined meeting place outside the building. And above all, you must hold fire drills so you know what to do.
If you live in a high-rise, there are other facts you should know in planning to get out alive.
You're trapped in a high-rise apartment. There's smoke, there are flames, and there's panic. But you've closed the doors against the heat, the flames. How long do you think you can remain alive inside this apartment? Do you think you could stay alive 15 minutes, 30 minutes? Could you survive in this apartment for 45 minutes? Or could you remain alive for over an hour? How much time do you have? The correct answer is more than 1 hour.
Most high-rises today have doors which will contain the fire for several hours. The floors in high-rises are also protective and will keep the fire at bay for several hours too. You're back in your room. The firefighters have arrived on the scene. What should you do? A, call the fire department and give your location in the building. B, open the window to get air. C, hang a signal out the window to give your location. Or D, place wet towels around doors to keep out the smoke. The correct answer is all of the above. According to fire experts, you should open your windows top and bottom to ventilate your room. Stay at the window. Keep your head at the bottom for the fresh air intake. And if firemen are busy elsewhere in the building, don't panic. They'll only come for you if there's danger, and you may end up sitting the whole thing out quietly in your room.
The questions you just answered underscore the points that a fire is black, it is not light, you won't be able to see. That smoke and gas will kill you and not flames. That the heat is so intense it alone can kill you. And that time, you have no time in a fire, you must get out. Now let's apply that knowledge in planning to get out alive. First, how you cope with the darkness.
This is your bedroom. You've lived in it for years and you know it intimately. Yet when a fire breaks out, in minutes, it will turn into this.
You're sound asleep in your bed, so you won't know this is happening. There's a fire in a room down the hall. The smoke is coming into your bedroom, filling every nook and cranny. It's blinding, choking smoke. It's slowly lowering to the bed. You won't smell the smoke because in your sleep, you can't smell smoke.
Suddenly, you're awake. You've heard screams, fire sirens. You spring out of bed. But where's the door, the window, the closet, the lamp? This is what a fire is like.
You will find yourself in total blackness. Fire is black. It is not light. You can't see. You must get down on the floor. If you do get down on the floor, you'll suddenly discover there's more light. There's more air. The choking smoke is above you. At this point, you must remember three very important things. One, you get more latitude to move. The choking smoke and the hot air is above you. Here, too, use a flashlight. Have one next to your bedside for this sort of an emergency. It will help you find your way out. And third, you must have an escape plan. Know which way to move in the case of fire. At this level, I can get out. I know what my escape plan is. I've rehearsed it. I'm heading toward the exit. The door lies in this direction. If you know what to expect, you can get out alive. Know what to expect. Katie Kramer knew what to expect. She saved her family.
I was sound asleep in my bed, and suddenly I felt something hot on my feet, and I looked, and my bed was catching on fire. It was black, totally black, and you couldn't see a thing in the room. I crawled over here and out the hall and got my mother and sister and father.
So remember three key things. To help you survive the darkness in a fire, you've got to get down on the floor and crawl. A small flashlight may help in the dark, and you've got to have an escape plan. Rehearse it, because you probably won't be able to see. And now, how to cope with the smoke and gas in a deadly fire.
You're in your bed and you're sound asleep. A fire breaks out in the early morning hours. The smoke fills your room, covers your bed, and the frightening thing is you won't smell the smoke. Most victims of fires are found dead with a thin layer of soot across their faces, because no matter how acrid and bitter the smoke, you won't smell it. The carbon monoxide will put you into a deeper and deeper sleep. It acts as an anesthetic, and the only defense you have against this smoke is a smoke detector.
Where you place your smoke detectors and how many you have can spell the difference between getting out alive or death. Now watch what happens in this home, specially designed by the Nassau County Fire Service Academy. The smoke begins pouring out into the first floor hallway. The alarm in the hall goes off after a minute and a half, but not before the hallway is already beginning to fill with smoke. Upstairs, the smoke detector outside the bedroom doesn't go off for another 2.5 minutes. That's a full 4 minutes after our controlled fire is started.
And that is why the fire experts advise you should have a smoke detector on every level in your home. Here, upstairs in the outside hall. And if you sleep with your bedroom doors closed, you should have a smoke detector in each of your bedrooms. The bigger the house and the more the rooms, the more the smoke detectors. This one here in the hallway downstairs went off first, gave us added time to get out. But there's one problem. 50% of the smoke detectors in this country don't work. That's because people don't change their batteries, or they take the battery out and forget to replace it. Please, on your birthday or on a holiday, check your batteries and change them. A smoke detector can spell the difference between life and death.
So remember, your life and the life of the smoke detector depends on its battery.
The battery in my smoke detector was rusted to the mechanism. It's very embarrassing, you know. And I feel terrible. I never considered it. I never thought that this would ever happen to us.
There's really no excuse for not checking the life of your battery in your smoke detector. There's even a new smoke detector which you can test with a flashlight that will immediately tell you if the battery is still working. To survive the deadly smoke and gases in a fire, you must have a smoke detector. The more the better, at least one on every level of your home. And you've got to check and change your batteries regularly, or all the smoke detectors in the world won't afford you any protection.
When it comes to dealing with deadly heat, you can take a lesson from firefighters. They live with it at each fire.
All right, move it in. Let's go. Keep moving. Keep moving. Keep moving. Get down.
Unlike the movies, firefighters do not race through burning buildings. They spend their time on their bellies, on their hands, on their knees. They crawl, even with all their protective gear. The heat at head level can spell death, so they must stay low. They're trained to make it second nature to crawl, or any fire they go to could be their last. because down on the floor not only will you see better, but the temperatures that would kill you if you were standing are survivable down on the floor. How dramatic are the temperature differences? I went into the specially designed training room where temperatures on the floor were 90 degrees. At head height, a blistering 600 degrees. The ceiling even hotter. Instant death if you stand up. Because remember, we said before, temperatures of 150 degrees or higher knock you out and kill you. And even a small fire can heat a room to that within a minute or two.
When you're trapped in a burning building, remember the rule. The rule is to crawl. Don't stand up. The heat overhead is several hundred degrees. It will kill you. It's not the fact that you can't see. And should you stand up, the smoke will knock you unconscious almost within seconds. So crawl. Right now, there's a little smoke here at the bottom. Eyes are tearing. We're getting a little sore throat out of this, but the heat overhead, if I were to stand up right now, would knock me back and probably kill me.
The bottom line is that you have to stay low. You must crawl to safety. Heat kills. You can buy life-saving time by crawling. And there are some other things that will also buy you time in a fire.
The smoke alarm is sounding. There's a fire somewhere in the basement. The thick, blinding, choking smoke is rolling through these hallways and into rooms. You've got to get out alive. And in order to do that, you need to buy time.
And there are two facts you must know in order to buy time. The biggest mistake that you can possibly make when a fire breaks out is to think that you have time. But time in a fire really works against you. You have no time. And most people who die in fires die in the very first 5 minutes. They are trapped because they wasted time. There are two things that can help you buy time in a fire, and knowing them could save your life. If you have a fire extinguisher, how much time should you spend in fighting a fire? Rule 1 is simple. You have 30 seconds to put out the fire if you're right there when it starts with a fire extinguisher in hand. That's all the time you have. So, if you're watching television and smoke and flames suddenly break out, you have 30 seconds to grab a fire extinguisher and put the fire out. If you can't control it in 30 seconds, get out. This fire could get out of control in seconds and you're trapped. But never waste time looking for a fire that's already underway in some other part of the house. Use what little time is left to you. Get you and your family out alive as quickly as possible and call for help.
And last, have an escape plan. Now that sounds easy, but believe me, it isn't. Right after the broadcast, try this. Find a room, your favorite room that you know intimately. Now, with the help of a partner or by yourself, close your eyes, turn around several times. Now, with your eyes closed, get down on the floor. You have an escape plan. Try to find your way out with your eyes closed. See how long it takes you. Now, remember, this is an imaginary fire. In a real fire, this is what you'll have to contend with. There'll be obstacles in your way. You have to know where to go. The smoke is black, it's blinding, and it's choking. But I know where the escape plan takes me, along the wall. I've rehearsed this many times. You must do the same thing. The kitchen should be just here, yes. Here it is. Linoleum floor, carpeting. This is the kitchen. The exit is just 10 feet ahead, along the side wall here. I can't see it yet. It's still too black and the heat has got me down on the floor, so crawl. There's the exit. Now I can get out. You must have that escape plan, and you must rehearse it.
So we've learned that if you're right there when a fire breaks out, and you have a fire extinguisher, you've got about 30 seconds to put out the fire. If you can't, get out. And don't forget, you've got to have an escape plan because time is against you. Along with a fire extinguisher, another important tool that most people don't know about is the door. It will help keep the flames, the heat, and the smoke out. Listen to this message.
A fire breaks out on the first floor of the two-family house. Door. The woman quickly leaves to call the fire department. Door. And 2 people die upstairs, overcome by smoke. Door. A man smoking in bed starts a fire. The door. Leaves the bedroom, rushes to a phone. The door. And before the fire department gets there, the door. The rest of his house burns down. The door. Is there one single act that could have been done? Close the door. To help prevent this needless loss of life and property. Close the door. What should these people have done? Close the door. Do you know that a door is one of the best pieces of firefighting and life-saving equipment? Close the door. And if you leave a room that is on fire, close the door. If you simply close the door, it will help stop the fire and smoke from spreading too quickly. Close the door.
We hope you never experience a fire, but statistics tell us that most of us will. It is frightening, but you've learned some of the basic facts about surviving in fires. And if you plan to get out alive, you can. Others have, and you will too.
Knowing what to do saved my life. I mean, I know that now. But knowing, when I saw the people in there using every bit of energy they had to panic, every bit of energy to scream, not 1 ounce of energy was put into any thought. That's what killed some of those people.
My sister opened the door and I could see a lot of smoke coming in, and that's how I knew that's how I was sure that there was a fire in Katie's room. And she grabbed my hand. She grabbed my hand and I took a deep breath of what oxygen was left in my room, and I holded it until I could. I holded it as long as I could until I couldn't hold it anymore, and then I breathed the smoke, and I ran downstairs and I shaked my brother a lot, and I almost yelled in his ear, and I said, "Chris, wake up! There's a fire in Katie's room."
The child takes the cigarette lighter, and it has a little wheel, and then it becomes a toy, and they zoom, they run it along the ground, and they see the spark, and they go boom. Then they take their little fingers and put it on the trigger, and they go boom, boom, and now they have a fire. And unlike a match, that match will go out sometimes, but this fire will not go out. And they'll go under a bed or in a closet, and then the fire will get going, and it'll be out of control, and they don't know what to do. They don't know enough to run because they're so young. And what happens, the fire gets out of control. And that combination, the most destructive force in nature, fire, in children, is a losing combination.
I took the elevator, not knowing there's a fire. Knowing the first rule, of course, is when you know there's a fire, you don't take the elevator. But I didn't know there was a fire. And when I got off on the 7th floor, the entire elevator, the door opened, and the entire elevator filled with smoke. So thick and so black that you could not see your hand in front of your face. But immediately I dropped to the floor, so my mouth and head were only about inches from the floor. And there I could see and I could breathe. And at that time I was banging on the alarm of the elevator, which I think the power was going off, but it did close, and it crept down to the 6th floor and opened partly where someone pulled me out. But the smoke was so thick you could not breathe. It is the most frightening experience you can imagine.
First there's nothing, all of a sudden, intense heat. I didn't feel pain right away, though I guess you're in shock. I felt pain afterward. You feel intense heat. Well, there's no way to describe it. I mean, put your finger on a match and you get a little idea, but your whole body is engulfed in this heat.
Well, that was a really great film. It was very, very informative. I hope you all enjoyed it and learned something from that film. Now we're going to go on to the next cartoon. It's a little bit more lighthearted. What's the name of it?
It's called The Fire and the Witch.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great for everybody to watch.
Okay, good. All right, so let's take a look at this one then.
Today, the children wandered so far, they became lost.
We're lost, Gretel.
I know. Hansel, what's that?
It's a house, and it looks like gingerbread.
Come on, let's go see.
Does it look good?
Nibble, nibble, Mouseskin. Who's been nibbling in my houseskin? Why, look. 2 lovely children have come to visit.
Excuse us, ma'am, but we were hungry.
That's okay, sweetie. Come on in and have something to eat.
Wait, Hansel, if we go in, remember what happened? She's the witch.
Oh, my. You mean she's going to feed us and then push us in her oven?
Unless we stop her. Think of some way to keep her busy until Daddy finds us.
Yeah.
Hey, honey bunnies, let's fix some yummies.
Ma'am, Gretel was just saying what a pretty long dress you have.
Why aren't you dears?
If you're a witch, you must be around fire a lot.
It's part of my job, Snookums.
I hope you're careful with that long dress. If it gets too close to the flames, it will catch on fire.
That's right. You should always keep your clothing away from fire. What would you do if your dress did catch on fire?
Well, I guess I'd run for help.
No, you never run when your clothing is burning.
I don't run, eh?
When your clothes catch on fire, you drop to the ground, cover your face, and roll. Like this. See?
Well, I'll be. I don't run. I stop, drop, and roll. Right?
Right. When you roll, you smother the fire.
Hey, hold it. This is the story of Hansel and Gretel. Where were we? Oh, yes. Why don't you kitties come in and eat?
Okay. Hansel, let's go in, but remember, we're not going to eat.
Stay there and I'll fix you a snack. Oh, how about a little toast and strawberry jam? I just love chubby children. Ouch!
What's the matter?
I got a shock from this stupid toaster.
That toaster can start a fire. Right, Hansel?
What did you say?
Any broken electrical appliance can start a fire. An iron, a hairdryer, an electric heater, even a radio can start a fire.
Do you know what you should do with that busted toaster?
What? Cast a spell on it?
No. Have it repaired by an expert. All your appliances should be checked and in good working order.
Okay, I'll do that. Now forget the toaster. I'll bake you something in the kitchen.
But you should have this cord fixed, too. It's starting to fray, and that can start a fire, too.
Okay, I'll fix it right after you eat. Come on now, I haven't got all day. Well, are you coming or aren't you? I told that cooking pan to clean itself up. What's wrong with you, Ironsides? Look at that grease all over you. I'll fix you.
You know, when that pan gets too hot, all that grease can start a fire just like your broken toaster can.
Oh, no. You're not going to get me off the track again by talking about grease fires. I already know how to put them out, so forget it.
I bet you don't.
Oh, yeah, smarty pants. Fire needs air in order to burn, right?
Right.
So when the grease in my cooking pan catches on fire, I turn off the stove and put the lid on the pan to take away the air. Watch this. Over my shoulder. Start a little fire, and now the lid. Putting out a fire, which style? The fire can't get any air and goes out.
Suppose you didn't have a pan lid.
Well, then I'd
Use baking soda.
Use a baking soda. Any fool knows that.
Turning off the stove and tossing baking soda on the flames also keeps air from the fire so it goes out.
You see, you don't use water on a grease fire because that splashes the grease and spreads the fire. Isn't that interesting?
Thrilling. I've never heard this Hansel and Gretel story before. Don't you know it's time to eat?
Yeah, but first we'll show you how to call the fire department.
All the kids in the world, and I get junior fireman. When are you gonna eat something?
Later. This is more important. You should always keep emergency numbers on the phone. I'll make a sticker for the fire department. Here. You dial the number when you need them. We'll just pretend right now. Are you listening?
I have a choice.
You give the fireman your name and your telephone number. You tell him what's on fire, like your house or your garage. Give him the exact address with the nearest cross street and the town where the fire is. Then you wait for the fireman to hang up first, okay?
Okay. Now listen, we're gonna do Hansel and Gretel my way. Places, everyone. Narrator, you may continue.
And so, the old witch put Hansel in a cage and set Gretel to work.
Gretel, dear, would you be a lamb and light the stove?
I never play with matches.
Look, just take the matches.
I'm sorry. Matches are for adults, not for children.
Oh, for corn's sake, I'll do it myself. My goodness!
The stove's on fire, Hansel.
Quick, call the fire department and close the oven door, Gretel.
Stop, drop, and roll. Stop, drop, and roll.
That's when your clothes are on fire. Come on.
Let's see. 8, 4, hello?
Give him your name and telephone number.
My name is Griselda Broomhopper, and my phone is Witchy 5306.
Tell him what's on fire and where.
I'd like to report an oven fire at 14 South Hemlock Way in Dark Forest Village. The nearest cross street is Murky Lane near Evil Avenue.
Wait till he hangs up.
He said he'd be right over. Let's close the door and get out of here.
Gee, lucky the fire wasn't too bad. They sure put it out fast, didn't they, Gretel?
And they left everything so nice and clean.
When my clothes burn, I stop, drop, and roll. I like that. Stop, drop, and roll. I make sure all electrical appliances are in good condition. Braid cords fixed. Grease fires, I take away all the air with the pan lid or baking soda. Calling the fire department, I give my name and phone number and what's on fire And the address. And the address. There.
Hansel, Gretel.
It's Daddy.
Thank goodness. I thought he'd never get here. Out, 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 out.
Well, what about the story of Hansel and Gretel?
Forget it. If I'm lucky, I'll never hear of it again.
Maybe we can do it another time, okay?
Yeah, like never. Bye-bye, bye-bye. Well, we sure didn't do this story the way I know it. Listen, narrator, next time I do a fairy tale, let's stick to the script.
Okay. Next time we will, I guarantee it.
By the way, what am I scheduled to do next week?
Let me look it up. Oh, here it is. Snow White and the Seven Firemen.
Oh, no.
Well, thank you very much for coming, Jim. I really enjoyed those films a lot, and I hope everybody in the audience enjoyed them too. I can't thank you enough, you and the Nelson Fire Department, for all you're doing here in town. Good luck to you.
Great. Thank you very much. And I hope everybody has a fire safe year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Night.